People who didn't forever hold their peace in a wedding. Why? Priest. That these two should not be wed? GF of best man. That ain't yeah kid in there. Best man was ducking his fiancée since the groom's 2-month trip to China. He thought he was great at hiding it from his GF. He was not. Think 3 relationships ended there and a few more friendships. Was at a Hindu wedding. It's a 3-hour ceremony that happens on a stage and there were 500 guests. At some point a group of young guys walk to the front of the hall. The bride walks off the stage and leaves through the side of the hall with the group of guys. Anyway, the priest carried on chanting and with the ceremony. The guests assume everything is going on as per normal for the next 15 minutes. After that there were some sudden side conversations between parents. Priest, groom etc. Turns out that the bride-to-be left with her boyfriend. The marriage to the groom was arranged and the boyfriend was someone that the father did not like. Last I heard was that the boyfriend and the bride were still together. My favorite was a wedding I went to for a friend where when they asked this question the father of the bride unloaded a fart that echoed off the church bench so loud that everyone stopped and just looked at him. The bride started laughing so hard that her face turned bright red and she had to sit down. 10 minutes of her laughing so hard she didn't make a sound while the rest of the church laughed. Finally the dad stands up and says, "Look, I had a bagel this morning. It didn't sit well." The mother of the bride hit him but laughed and everyone laughed again. Was probably the best wedding I have ever seen. Sort of multi-layered. It started at the bachelorette party and carried over into the wedding. So, I was not part of this wedding, but was present. And part of the bachelorette party was kind of an open house. Anyone show up sort of deal with some party royalty. Basically the bridal party went to a bar and all the friends could swing by and say hi. So I do that and get beer and congrats and whatever. Go to the ladies' room and the bride is in there with her arms crossed and someone is crying in a stall. Turns out, one of the bridesmaids got drunk and basically said, "I'm so glad you and fiancé could forgive each other after he cheated. You're so good together," but the bride didn't know about the cheating. So the bride decides to lay into the bridesmaid and talk about bridesmaid's husband. How he's a sleazerbag who cheated at some point too. So bridesmaid is crying in a stall and bride is pissed. I make a quick exit. The wedding still happens that weekend. I'm milling around with the guests in pre-wedding mode. My spidey senses are on high alert cause of the drama I heard at the party. And sure enough, the bridesmaid's husband is like trying to force himself into the getting ready area with the bride to yell at her for judging. Cause apparently he has more dirt on her. So the groom cheated. The bridesmaid's husband cheated. And apparently the bride at some point cheated or at least was way too friendly with an ex. I didn't hear all the details on the last one. No one was holding peace that day. Edit. I have also posted this in the bachelorette party Ask Reddit question since it involved the party beforehand. A few years after I graduated from college, a distant friend from high school asked if I would stand up in her wedding because one of members of the wedding party had backed out. I said sure. Happy to do so because I would be at the wedding anyway. I show up at the wedding as the replacement member of the wedding party and assume my place at the front of the church during the ceremony. At the point in the ceremony where the minister asks people speak now or forever hold your peace, this person who I replaced in the wedding party shows up at the chapel. Points to the happy couple and says I got crabs from them. Seems the happy couple had a 3-way with this person sometime before the wedding, which is why I had to replace that person in the wedding party. Further seems that the reason that this person got crabs is that this couple had lots of 3-ways and extra relationship sex before getting married. This was later confirmed by other members of the wedding party. No joke, the appetizer at the wedding reception was crab cakes. You can't make this stuff up, folks. My family works with college students, so they're always getting invited to weddings. I've probably been to around 50-60. I have never a single time heard the pastor officiant Elvis impersonator say the "forever hold your peace" line. Like even if someone did have a reason for them not to get married, I don't think they would have been invited. My dad is a minister. He once had a lady stand up in the church and say that the marriage couldn't go forward because she was still married to the groom. Wedding cancelled. I didn't say anything during the ceremony, but I was definitely telling my sister we could still leave right now and cancel the whole thing right before it. She was only marrying him because he got her knocked up. They were both 19. And I was pretty sure he was already an alcoholic. Their marriage lasted only 2 years. I was right about his drinking. A handle of Jack every day. However, my sister didn't let it tear her down. During her marriage she enrolled in college, eventually getting 2 degrees and lifting her son and herself out of what was going to be a terrible path. I feel her life would have been easier if she had listened. But she still succeeded the hard way. My mom wanted to stop the marriage of her half-brother and her stepsister, but the wedding was in prison, so she wasn't able to attend. For such a short comment. That was a real journey. My husband and I had a justice of the peace wedding. Then did the actual ceremony with a priest later. The priest was super cool and had come through at the last second when our original officiant backed out. When he got to the part about objecting, he said, "And if anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, you're too late." I really wanted to. Bridegroom had decided to split a week before the wedding, but bride's dad said he wouldn't pay for all the related expenses and had already paid all deposits unless they went ahead with the wedding. So they went ahead with the sham. Not everyone present knew, and the couple acted their way through a grotesque display. They lived together just long enough to finalize all the split up details, then divorced. Truly a nightmare day for those of us who knew the couple well. What was the dad's problem? He would have lost less money if he only lost the deposits, lol. I never understood his reasoning, but he was absolutely adamant. I think he threatened the couple they would have to pay everything. You know, the point isn't for someone to morally object to the wedding or an ex to profess their love. They traditionally asked this so if anyone had any proof that the marriage would be incestuous they could prevent them marrying. So late to this. When my neighbors got married, they had a semi-pirate themed wedding on a tall ship anchored in the harbor. They had met in fencing class and are also some of the most eccentric people I've ever met. When the officiant asked the question, one of their fencing buddies stood up and yelled that the bride deserved better, and the groom was nothing but a swashbuckling good for nothing. So the groom challenged him to a duel. They fenced their way up the aisle and the groom threw him over the edge of the boat. They've been just as entertaining to live next door to ever since. I got married in March. We had a Wild West wedding complete with antique pistols and a saloon reception. When that line was said, as was the plan, my man of honor stepped out of the wedding party line and objected. He was then shot on the spot by my husband, unloaded antique pistol. So it just made a loud noise. My new brother-in-law then dragged him off to the side where he remained for the rest of the ceremony. There is a great photo of us sat at the front with me clutching my pearls while my husband stands with 6 shooters in each hand asking anybody else